there was an article came out by Adam Rittenberg, and he puts these assistants in three different categories. I'll go ahead and list them off, and then we'll go whatever direction you want to go with them. So it says Power Four Launchpad. He has Penn State's offensive coordinator, Andy Kotelnicki, offensive coordinator for Oregon, Will Stein, Ohio State offensive coordinator, Brian Hartline, and then in the splashy first year hires, he had, oh, he didn't have any Big Ten guys in that one. I apologize. I don't think he did. I thought he did. Nope, no guys in that one. And then he said other names to watch. He had Danton Lynn at USC, defensive coordinator, both coordinators for Indiana, Bryant Haynes and Mike Shanahan. And then finally, co-defensive coordinator for Iowa, Seth Wallace. Everybody knows Phil Parker over there, but you got the co-defensive coordinator over there at Iowa, Seth Wallace. That's an interesting name to know. What's he say? 46-year-old has had an integral role in one of the nation's most consistent defenses. Zach, any thoughts on these assistants that Adam Rittenberg named?
I I feel like it's interesting that he has Brian Hartline and the launching pad, like as if he's already proven it. That felt a little weird. And also like I think Andy Kotelnicki, I thought that was interesting just because I think he did a lot of good things for Penn State, but I also thought there were things that were left to be desired at times with Kotelnicki. Not surprised at all that Danton Lynn was on the list. And quite honestly, I think we both might be a little higher on him than even Adam Rittenberg is.
Yeah, definitely. After 2 years ago, what he did at UCLA, it was stock kind of down a little bit after USC this past year. I think in yards per play allowed, I think they were second last in the Big Ten. But you could still definitely see things were better for that Trojan defense last year, and I mean the defensive line and everything else. I expect a much better defensive line for USC this year, and I think that's going to help them tremendously.
Yeah. Yep.
So.
Did you have guys on that list or not on the list that you were intrigued by?
Yeah, that was another thing. Jim Knowles wasn't on the list. I mean, national championship winning defensive coordinator last year.
Yeah,
I guess he's probably one that maybe just everybody knows. You don't have to bring him up.
he's just aight.
Yeah, he's all right, I guess. I like that they listed both of the Indiana coordinators there. I thought both of those guys deserved respect. I actually probably would have listed one of the Illinois coordinators after last season. It wasn't the flashiest season, like it wasn't like Indiana where they were completely blowing some teams out and stuff, but those guys have been pretty long tenured at Illinois, and Brett Bielema has been building something good there for him. So I don't know. I would have thought maybe Aaron Henry, and right now the offensive coordinator is escaping me his name, but one of those two I would have thought maybe would have deserved being on there. But this list, I mean, it's Clemson, Ohio State, Penn State, Georgia, like Oregon, Miami, like it's Tennessee. Adam's not going into deep Big Ten here or anything like that. I guess that's more for me and you to do. Barry Lunny. Thank you, Alana. And Philip. Barry Lunny.
Yeah, I'm surprised that Lunny and Henry or Terrence Jamison, who's a co-defensive coordinator, none of them are mentioned in this article, which is surprising.
Yeah. Anybody else you thought maybe should have been mentioned or anything?
Man, I do wonder about. I think we talked about Sunseri at UCLA, who came over from Indiana. Like, surprised that maybe he's not on the first year, like hire, not first. Yeah, I guess he would be a first year guy because he was a quarterback's coach at Indiana and now is the offensive coordinator. So I'm a little surprised that maybe he's not on there after what he did at Indiana as a quarterback's coach.
Yeah. Let me bring this up really fast because I actually have a full list of all the coordinators, and this might help us a little bit.
Oh,
if you can see that.
Look at that.
I got so much random stuff like this that I just have, because I try to know all these names and everything as best I possibly can. So names that jump out to me, offensive coordinator wise, he doesn't have he doesn't have the biggest name because of where he's at, but Kirk Soraka has made Rutgers offense better. Like he deserves credit
Yeah.
for what he's done there, bringing in Athan Kaliak-Manis and how he improved over the season over there as well. Jeff Grimes is somebody that's done well at Kansas. Andy Kotelnicki really made a name for himself there. Jeff Grimes, he was from Kansas, right?
Yes, I think
I
so.
believe so.
Yeah.
Kind of surprised by that a little bit. And then on the defensive side, another, one I put Don there. His name is Wink Martindale. I guess Don was probably his real name, and I looked it up. Joe
Hmm.
Rossi there from Michigan State didn't have a great season last year, but he was good at Minnesota. Then he goes to Michigan State. Ryan Walters at Washington. We'll see if he can kind of revive himself a little bit after the Purdue stinker the past 2 years.
I
Your
would say
thoughts?
he's got a lot of reputation building to do. A
Yeah.
lot of reputation rebuilding. We didn't talk about this. He was on the list, but we didn't talk about him a lot. Will Stein deserves a lot of love for what he's done at
They
Oregon.
they were saying he was a possible candidate for that Stanford job. I
Who
mean, it might
wants to
still be Frank
go
Frank
to
Reich is interim. Yeah, I mean, yeah, but to be thought of though.
Yeah, that's like the Chris Ash going to Rutgers when Rutgers wasn't stuck in Big Ten East craziness. Like,
Yeah.
do you want this job over here? The Rutgers job? Like at that point, Rutgers was in the tank, and like under like Kyle Flood had kind of, you know, I wouldn't say tanked him, but he didn't do a great job adjusting to the Big Ten, and that feels like what would happen if Will Stein was like, "Do you want this? Do you want this job over here at Stanford and like go 1-11 every year and then get fired in 3 years and then have to revive your career? No, thanks. Don't do it, Will Stein. Don't do it."
Yeah, no, for sure, for sure. Sorry, I was mesmerized by Philip's comment here. Mike Loxley, future OC for subsequent. Listen, we were saying it about Tom Allen, so I mean, but
It's
DC wise, not OC.
yeah, yeah. I
So,
will say,
Larry, we're sorry if you're listening, Larry. We're sorry. We're sorry, Larry.
well, I was gonna say, I do feel like I I don't want to run from what I've said about Mike Loxley. I There is something to be said about culture building and like just like
Larry got you with the
healthy.
personal side of it. Larry
Yes,
got you with
yes.
the player passing away, which don't get me wrong, like that got me too. Like that whole story and like him coming alongside the family and helping rebuild the culture, like all of that stuff. I love that stuff. And
Yeah.
I want Mike Loxley to do. I don't think we ever said we didn't want Mike Loxley to do well. We always did want him to do well.
I may have
Oh,
said
okay.
that at
All
some
right.
point.
You're
I may
you're the
have
bad person. Okay.
I'm well, yes. I am a jerk.
Messing with you. Okay, let's do
But
this really
yeah.
fast though. Um, let's do coordinators to watch off the top of our head really fast for
Oh.
next season. Are there any coordinators who can maybe make a name for themselves a little bit more next year? Let's kind of go back and forth, not give too many comments on because we don't have a ton of time, but just kind of go back and forth. Chip Lindsey, he made a name for himself a little bit
Yeah.
at North Carolina, bigger school like Michigan, though. Bryce Underwood does well. He could make a name for himself a little bit. Anybody
Mhm.
else on the offensive side you're looking at there, Zach?
Um, I think I do think Tim Lester with another good season
Mm,
could really help bring them up. I think another name to look out for, especially with how difficult the schedule is, and he's coming after the debacle. I'm blanking on his name, but Jeff Grimes at Wisconsin.
oh, yeah.
Like if somehow he upsets Alabama in week 3 because Billy Edwards is dealing or Danny O'Brien's dealing, uh, like that's a big deal. And then Tino Sunseri, like I think Sunseri is a guy that
He
I
was who I
really
was going
am.
to name. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch Sinceri. I really like Sinceri. I mean, I've shared my thoughts on him here before. Very inexperienced, I mean, he's not young, but at the same time, he's early on in his coaching career. So, I mean, UCLA, that's quite the task to take on with Deshaun Foster and him being a young coach and everything else. So I like Sinceri a lot. I think he can do it. I don't know if UCLA was the best place for him to do it at. We'll see though.
Hmm.
We'll see though.
Yep.
Defensive coordinators on that side of the ball. I guess I need to put Seth Wallace in here as the co one. I didn't even have Seth Wallace.
Yeah.
Thanks, Adam Rittenberg, for helping me out there.
I say
Um,
we gotta take Brian Williams out of there and put
oh, what's his name? Tino. What was his name?
not Tino Sinceri.
Not Tino Sincere.
I'm
I
already
have a
blanking on his
graphic.
name. Yeah.
I
I'm
have a
like,
graphic.
who are you? Who is the
It's like
defensive coordinator?
Monachino or something like that.
Monachino. Ted
Maryland fans are
Monachino.
turning. Yeah,
Ted
Maryland
Monachino.
fans are turning off the podcast right now. They're like, these guys don't even know our defensive coordinator's
No, we
name.
just need
Ted
to keep
Monachino. You're
we
right.
just
You're
need to
right.
keep reminding ourselves. I you said it with defensive coordinators, but Aaron Henry does not get enough credit. And so I feel like they have a schedule this year that I think could get him respect, right? Like you play
Philip and them are saying he needs to earn the respect in the comments here.
and he has an opportunity to do it at
Yeah.
Indiana. Like they play at Duke, which Duke is okay offensively, although they don't have Malik Murphy anymore. But at Duke, at Indiana, USC, Ohio State, at Washington, like you've got some good quarterbacks and some good offenses that you're going to have to face in that mid part of the season. Like that's a much tougher task than what they faced. And the one big offense that they really faced a year ago was Oregon, and they got torched.
Mm. Good point. Good point. I really like this comment from Joe. He says, "With that hair, Tino belongs in LA."
Mm,
It's true. It's true.
yeah.
And then Billy, you read my mind, just like I was going to talk about Tino Sinceri for offense, defensive. Matt Patricia at Ohio State. Everybody hated the hire. Everybody talked about how terrible it was and everything. And now he's coming in, and you know, could we see Matt Patricia maybe prove some people wrong? The players seem to love him. Every defensive player talks really good about him in the interviews for Ohio State, but we'll see.
Yeah. I'm not gonna lie, they kind of sound like after their ex broke up with them and they got together with someone new. They're
Do you
like,
think they're doing that on purpose? Do you think they're trying to shade Jim Knowles?
no, I don't. I'm not saying they're doing it on purpose, but more like it's easy to look through scarlet colored glasses when like everything is new and everything's exciting and you have negative emotions attached to how the last guy left. And there were, and there still probably are. So I don't think it's intentional. I don't think they're coordinating it and be like, this day we're going to say that this about Matt Patricia. Like, I don't think it's that. I think it's more like, I don't know. It just seems kind of like everything's so great. It's like, guys, you've had like a month of spring practice. Like,
Well, yeah, and I I have some skepticism. Obviously, this is better than hearing like, yeah, we hate the guy.
oh
Like you don't
yeah,
want to hear that.
that'd be terrible.
But I do have
Recruiting's
some
great too.
skepticism of like, oh, he's just letting us play so free and everything like that. It's like, okay, I like that, but at the same time, what's the scheme and everything gonna look like? I don't know. But also that's hard to talk through with spring ball because they're not implementing